What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at some more Older Than You Think I Am stories. I will not be in detention, sorry. The basics. I'm 26 but have a rounded face and look fairly young, especially when I dress down. My relative works at a small school that's attached to a slightly larger school. The larger school is for credit recovery, which is the home base of just about every habitually truant, unusually angry teen in the district. It's a rough place. On this day, I borrowed my relative's car so I could run some errands, so I had to drop off and pick him up as they still had to work that day. It's time for my relative's lunch break, so I drop in to say hi and bring food as thanks for the aforementioned car borrowing. I also desperately had to pee and my relative told me I could use the staff bathroom. Cool, thanks. I rock up in my trashy board shorts and vaguely suggestive tank top. It wasn't like I'd actually see any students and the staff working closely with my relative knew me and my sense of humor, so what does it matter? Insert foreboding music here. I dropped off lunch to my relative, borrowed the bathroom key, scooted off to do my business and returned the key. No problems until I headed for the car. I was maybe halfway across the little yard area when some guy I've never seen before starts shouting. Knowing the nature of this school, I look around to make sure I'm not about to get pelted with rocks or something. Nope, no students out and about, just me and this random dude. I figure he's a teacher, judging by the awful tie. He comes storming up to me.
What are you doing out here?
Oh, I just had to use the bathroom, but
And why are you wearing that?
Hey, it's not that bad. It doesn't even say the word. It alludes to frick, but doesn't say it on the shirt. Anyway, I'm just headed out, so I gesture vaguely at the parking lot.
You can't just leave school grounds whenever you feel like it. Get back inside before I give you a detention.
Light bulb. Dude thinks I'm an errant student. I'm not a student here. Very intelligent answer, I know. I was in a bit of shock and a bit annoyed that this random dude was shouting at me.
You think just because you go to the attached school you don't have to follow the rules?
I say in my best customer service voice. No, I graduated the other high school in early 2000s. I'm relative's relative, phobic chirp. Nice to meet you, but really, I do have things to get done this afternoon. The angry teacher squinted at me, looked me up and down, and finally noticed my full-color half-sleeve tattoo. I'm not sure how he missed it in the first place, as it is quite bright. Rage vision, maybe? I don't know. He just gave a little oh and stomped off to kick puppies and take candy from small children, probably. This story just gives me memories of school where you have to have your wits about you the whole time. You can't make a wrong move or you're gonna get a detention, even if you're not a student at this school, it seems. Can you imagine if the teacher said, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're a student or not, you're having a detention, it's final. What a great sentence this was. I'm relative's relative, phobic chirp, rolls off the tongue. Moving on to our second story, show me your ID or you're getting in the police van. So, I'm 24, married, have a son, yada yada. I'm 4'11", so it adds to the 13 or 16 factor. The mistake age happens a lot with me. I live out of my home country and go to visit my mum when I can. My mum lives a street away from my old high school, so you can see where this is going. This happened 2 years ago. So one morning I decided to go on a walk through the nice winter wonderland to grab coffee at the Starbucks a couple blocks away. I really like walking alone early in the morning since it's quiet, not many people, and I can listen to music with headphones and just relax. I have some issues with social and general anxiety. Since my mum's house is so close to the high school and I have to walk past the building to get to the Starbucks, I get mistaken as a student a lot. I usually can flash my wedding ring and say I graduated early and they laugh, I laugh and we move on. But I guess this time they had some students skipping because as I was coming back with my husband and iced coffee, I heard the chirp chirp of a siren behind me. I pull out my headphones and turned around. There are 2 cops in the van, they look annoyed and I'm getting anxious already. Hi, can I help you officers? I have a really soft voice which also just doesn't help my case. Get in the van, we don't have time for this. The one on the driver's side told the other to open the back. Oh, I don't go here anymore. I graduated a long time ago. I was in front of the school at this point. Don't lie, little girl. Don't you know you can get your mum in trouble for not going to school? I'm not lying. I'm 22. I graduated in 2013. Get in the truck, the driver cop yelled. And this almost was a trigger for me. I start to get really scared and anxious, almost to tears when people yell at me because of past issues. No, I don't go here. I'm 22. I'm basically just gripping the tray that they gave me to hold drinks and forcing myself to stop crying so I can speak clearer and louder. Show me your ID or you can get in the van. The driver cop has his hand out and the other cop is still waiting by the back door of the van. The only ID I have on me is my dependent military ID, so I hand it to him. My birthday is on the back, but he doesn't turn it over to see. He just says, ID now. I tell him to flip it over and he just ignores me and says, I need state ID, even though it's a federal ID. So I ask if I can call someone to bring it to me. He lets me and my husband runs up with both our wallets out and gives him my state ID, my driver's license, along with his and his military ID, as my husband also has a young face. He gives us our stuff back and looks really sheepish and grumbles out as sorry, telling his partner to get back in the truck. After, we went home and enjoyed our reheated coffee. At least I know to never leave the house without all 3 of my IDs now. Oh god. This is a little bit strange, to be honest. I thought policemen were supposed to ask for ID first, not try to kidnap you and put you in the back of their van. Look, I get it, he was doing his job and he probably has to do this 5-10 times a day, but that doesn't mean he can just bully you and make you feel really uncomfortable and anxious. That's not on. I don't know, let me know in the comments, guys. Do you think this police officer was just doing his job or stepped over the line? I'm not sure, let me know. Now for our third story, getting stopped at passport control because I look like a child. So I'm 18, but I often get mistaken for being anywhere from 14 to 16. I do have a baby face and it probably doesn't help that I love pink and often dress in a cutesy Japanese style. As you can guess, this has caused a few awkward encounters. This summer, as a celebration trip for passing my exams, my mum and I went to Barcelona for a few days. It was really fun and it felt like it ended much too soon. So as we were headed back to the UK, we went through passport control. There were these machines that scan your face and your passport to confirm your identity and let you through, but you can only use them as an adult. So there wasn't any queue and my mum walked right through to the machines, but as I was about to follow her, someone stepped in front of me. For a second I thought, oops, must have got in someone's way and tried to step around them, but they moved to block me again. So I looked up to see a lady, clearly an airport employee, and she was talking into the radio. I don't speak Spanish, I did German and French in school, so even when she tried to talk to me, I had no idea what she was saying. After a second or two, she clocked this and rolled her eyes and pointed to a sign, which said in both Spanish and English, over 18s only. I nodded and went to carry on, but she said no and held her hand out. After a second or two, I realized that she wanted to see my passport, so I opened it up and pointed to my date of birth. She looked between the passport and me a few times before nodding and stepping out of the way, looking kind of surprised. After I got through security and found my mum on the other end, she thought it was hilarious, and to be honest, I did too. Later that month, my mum was stopped by an old friend in town, and they were chatting for a good 10 minutes. You know, as mothers do. So the conversation ended up going down the, oh, how are the kids route, to which my mum replied, OP is going off to uni to study Japanese next month, and her younger sister has just finished her GCSEs, exams you take at 16 in the UK. So this lady turns to my sister and starts going on about how wonderful it is to study a language, ending her speech with, so good luck. My sister laughed and pointed to me saying, no, I'm starting sixth form. It's OP that's going away. She looked mortified, but I don't blame her for thinking that, as my sister does look a little older than me. So those are 2 of my I'm older than you think stories. Hope you enjoyed Uwu. Oh, for God's sake, why did you have to include the Uwu at the end? Now, funnily enough, I actually have a younger sister. She's a couple of years younger than me, but when we were both younger, I was probably about 13, she was 11. We were very nearly the same height. In fact, we pretty much were the same height, and everyone used to think that we might have been twins, so I do kind of get these sort of stories. Obviously now I'm way taller than her and better in every single way, but yeah, you know what I mean. Now for our final story, cops called after already being served. So a bit of background as it'll help to understand. I had just turned 19 a couple months back, and it was just by the end of finals for uni. It's safe to say that I've had a stressful month, and I just wanted to go out for a couple beers with my friends. Now normally we just go to the campus pub, since it was just after our last final for social work, but we decided to switch it up a bit. So we sit down after getting off the bus and finding a decent bar with some good Friday deals. We're already a couple beers in, and I was kind of surprised that I haven't been asked to see my ID, as I look a lot younger than I am, but I wasn't worrying about it. Then the bartender noticed where the beers were going. It's important to note before I go on that our provincial licensing agency had just switched up the way our licenses look, and our secondary photo was no longer see-through, but now it had a little scratchy holographic part on the bottom right hand corner. The bartender came up to us. Hey, could I see your ID for a quick moment? I think nothing of it. I hand it over as I casually take a drink. Yeah, of course. The bartender looks it over closely, and I should mention that it's a valid government issued driver's license, and I had just renewed it on my birthday birthday as per provincial standards. Do you have another piece of ID that I could see? At this point, my friends had gone quiet and stopped the conversation completely. They didn't actually say anything during this encounter. No, my driver's license is the only ID that I actually carry on me. Yeah, me too, that should be fine. He went quiet as he left my ID on the counter and just went into the back. I already had an idea as to what he was doing, so we started to gather our things and finish our drinks since we already paid for them. No tabs are allowed on the weekend without a CC. We did take our time, yes, but we were all curious as to how this would play out. Around 10 minutes passed, and the next thing we knew, the cops were inside the bar. We just rolled our eyes at each other as the bartender came up to the table with them. I can't remember exactly what was said, but pretty much the bartender thought my ID was a fake and decided to call the cops on me. After I sat in the back of a car for a bit and my friends were told to go home, I was finally let go almost an hour later after they verified everything was real. What annoys me the most was the fact that I had already been served 3 drinks at the time and they didn't bother to ID me before that. So instead, they tried to cover their butts and say my ID was fake to avoid the fine, as it's supposed to be look under 25, expect to be carded. Yeah, actually, that is a very good point. I know for sure in the UK that is the rule. You have to ask for someone's ID if they look under 25. If you don't, and there is a reasonable doubt surrounding their age, then yeah, you could get in trouble with the law. So I think this dude must have realized his mistake and tried to backtrack and say, oh no, he showed me a fake ID, not a real one, when the police were involved. The problem that I've got with this story though is that you did absolutely nothing wrong. You weren't asked for ID, you didn't give ID, that's fine, you had your drinks with your mates. However, your night and the entire night with all your friends has now been ruined because the bartender didn't ask for your ID. How is that fair? Like the police told everyone to go home and you had to sit in a car for an hour. That's not really great, is it? Anyway guys, that is going to do it for my second episode of r/OlderThanYouThinkIAm. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and haven't seen the first episode yet, it is on screen right away, so click it and I'll see you over there in just a few seconds. If you have already seen it, then don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for 2 new videos each and every day on the channel.